Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to zero in on a word you probably use all the time without a second thought, ever. It seems so simple, right? But this little four-letter word has some hidden rules that can trip up just about anyone.
So let me just ask you straight up. Have you ever used this word incorrectly? I'm going to bet the answer is yes, and you probably didn't even know you were doing it. It's one of those words we pick up really early, but using it perfectly, well, that's surprisingly specific.
And that really gets to the heart of the problem. Ever is everywhere. It's super common, but the rules around it are kind of confusing. Getting it right is one of those small details that makes a huge difference in sounding fluent. So let's unpack why it's so tricky.
Okay, the key to really cracking the code of Ever is to understand that it has this split personality. It's not just one single idea, it's actually two totally different concepts crammed into one word. And once you see those two sides, the rules suddenly start to make a whole lot of sense. So, what are these two meanings? Getting this distinction down is honestly the most important step to mastering the word, so let's just dive right in. Here they are, side by side. On one hand, ever can mean at any time. But on the other hand, it can mean always. Now, they might sound a little related, but in practice, you use them in completely different ways grammatically. Let's look at an example of each one. In this question, ever totally means at any point in time in your entire life. We're not asking if you're always hanging out with royalty, just if it's happened even once. This is probably the most common way you'll hear and use the word. Now, compare that to this sentence. Here, in the phrase forever and ever, the word ever is used to double down on the idea of always. It means for all time, without stopping, no end in sight. It's doing a completely different job than in the last example. All right, now for the really practical part. We know the two meanings, so let's focus on the rules for that first one, using ever to mean at any time, because this is where almost everyone gets it wrong. Okay, if you remember one thing, make it this. This is the big rule. When you're using ever to mean at any time, it pretty much only belongs in two places. Questions, like the one we just saw, and negative statements. It almost never, ever belongs in a simple positive statement. And this just illustrates the point perfectly. Saying, I have ever been to France, it's grammatically wrong, it just sounds off, you know? But the moment you flip it to a negative, I haven't ever been to France, boom, the word ever fits in perfectly. So that leads to a pretty logical question, right? If you can't say I have ever been to France, then what are you supposed to say when you want to express that positive idea? Well, there are a couple of really simple, correct ways to handle it. The easiest fix is to just drop the word ever. I have been to France. Simple, clear, totally correct. And if you actually mean the opposite, the word you're looking for isn't ever, it's never. I have never been to France. And if you think about it, never is really just a mashup of not ever. What's so cool about this little chart is how it lays everything out visually. For the at any time meaning, a good synonym is once, and the opposite, the antonym, is never. And for the always meaning, a synonym is forever, and the antonym is, you guessed it, also never. Never is just the powerful opposite in both scenarios. So you might be thinking, wow, this is a lot of energy for one tiny word. But here's the thing, mastering a word like ever is about so much more than just avoiding one little grammar mistake. It's about building a really solid foundation in the language. So what's this number all about, 850? It's not random, I promise. It actually represents something absolutely crucial about the very word we've been talking about this whole time. So that number, 850, that's the number of words on the basic English list. And ever is one of them. It was identified as one of the most essential, fundamental words you need to communicate pretty much any idea. This isn't some obscure vocabulary word. It's one of the absolute basics. And because it's such a foundational word, it also acts as a building block for so many other important concepts. I mean, think about it. An evergreen plant is one that is always green. Something everlasting is something that lasts forever. Understanding ever helps you unlock the meaning of all these bigger, related words. And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. True fluency, true mastery of a language. It isn't just about knowing a ton of big, complicated words. It's about having a deep, almost instinctual grasp of the simple core words and all their little rules. That's the real key to speaking and writing clearly. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a word as common as ever has all this complexity hiding just beneath the surface, what other simple words do we use every single day without fully getting them? What other rules of language are just hiding there in plain sight?